listen, if you are struggling with trading right now, there's a good chance that you probably have no life outside of the charts. Now, what do I mean by this? You're probably super obsessed with trading in and of itself. You spend multiple of hours a day. Maybe you spend a couple of hours in New York session, then you spend a couple of hours in Asian session, and then you stay up for London session. You just all you do is just trade, man. You have no life, and this is the exact reason why you're not seeing the progress that you want to see when it comes down to trading, right? Now, I'd argue when you first start out, of course, you want to make sure that you are spending as much time as possible learning how trading works, learning how the candlesticks move, learning how patterns are formed, and just eventually you want to develop your own strategy. You want to make sure that has a statistical edge so that you have an edge in the market. And of course, you want to spend as much time doing all this in the beginning stages, learning, studying. And then I'd argue maybe after like 6 months to a year, this is exactly when you want to shift into just trading like it's like your side hoe or something. Really, man. That's like the best analogy I can give you, right? Like, think about your main girl, bro. Like, that's the girl you're gonna end up spending a whole bunch of time with, right? But your side girl, that's just a girl you link on here and there, or whatever, like when you're bored or okay, maybe it's not the best analogy, but the whole point I want to get across here is the fact that you want to make sure that you treat trading like it's just something you do, right? As if you were like brushing your teeth or putting on a set of clothes when you start the day. It's something that you follow systematically, right? Brushing your teeth is basically systematic at this point. You don't have to think too much about it when you're doing it. And so that's what trading should be. And I'd argue if you're spending way too much time on the charts, what ends up happening is it becomes so important to you that your life revolves around it and you just become this like super weird guy, bro. Like, I'll be honest with you, like, and if you're watching this video, you probably could attest to this. When you spend a lot of time on the charts, you're not as social anymore. You probably ended up over trading, over leveraging, over risking for the day because, again, the more time you spend on the charts, the more susceptible you are to these bad habits. And so then when you come back out into the real world, you're less likely to socialize with your friends, your family, or your girl. And what ends up happening is you just become this weird guy that maybe even you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, yo, who the fuck, what the fuck? Like, what have I become? Like, why do I feel so shitty today? And that, again, it all comes down to you just spending way too much time on the charts and making it your whole life, right? Like, how many times have you guys, like maybe you spent a couple of hours on a New York session, then you spend a couple of hours on Asian session, then you think, oh, you know what, I'm gonna stay up for London as well, and then what ends up happening is you might just end up taking a whole bunch of shit trades because, again, your psychology is super messed up because you're spending so much time. Again, you're susceptible to all these bad habits, and you might even just blow your account. I've been in that position before. That's why I even could use that example, right? And I understand when you first start trading, this is something that you kind of have to go through this period where you think like, okay, the more time that I spend on the charts, the more profit that I could potentially make. And why do people have this type of mentality? It's partially due to the fact, or it's probably largely due to the fact that in a 9 to 5, if you work overtime hours, you get overtime pay, right? You get more money for more hours that you work. So when it comes to the charts, we automatically think that, oh, if I spend more time on the charts, then I'll make more money. But I'd argue that the best thing that you can do when it comes down to trading, and this is where I've seen the most progress in my own trading journey, is when I spend the least amount of time on the charts. Nowadays, I just spend about 30 minutes to an hour. And again, I've been trading for about 6 years, got a couple of payouts recently this year. Been on a bit of a losing streak, but I'm back on my grind. I'm back on my hustle, and I'm just doing what I need to do in terms of just sizing super low now and just building back up that consistency and just really just spending about 30 minutes on the charts, right? Like about 30 to 45 minutes. I literally hop on the charts at 9:15 and then I'm off the charts by like 10 a.m. And last week I made about $700 just risking 2 micros per trade. And of course, just building up that consistency just so I can eventually get a payout from this funded account. I'll be making more videos on that if you guys want to tune into that as well. But the whole point I'm trying to make here is the fact that I'm literally spending 45 minutes a day on trading. I'll journal my trade for about 5 minutes, see what went right and what went wrong. And then, of course, I analyze that data and then I come to the charts the next day and I am implementing the data that I've analyzed, right? And then the rest of the day, I'll just be doing like other shit. I'll go to the gym. If you guys watch my other videos, you guys know I'm a full-time caregiver for my mom. She was unfortunately diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease, And so she got paralyzed from the neck down about 4 or 5 years ago. Listen, it's not the most ideal situation, but it is something that is very important to me. Of course, my parents are very important to me, and so when I can take care of them, I will. And that's a part that's like a large part of my day. So I spend time doing that, and then of course I work a shift as well. Like I work a full-time job from the hours of 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. I work for an online casino as a tech support. Nothing crazy, but right now I don't have much time for fun, but I do have other things that I'm focusing on, and of course I'm making YouTube videos now too as well. And so, like, back to what I was saying, I'm not having too much fun in my life, but when it comes to you guys, maybe you guys need to start looking into other areas of your life that you want to improve, right? So, for example, if you're out of shape, that's maybe something that you want to spend about an hour to two. If you want to hit the gym every single day, start building up that habit, lock into your nutrition, of course, right? Instead of just like doom scrolling all day and then just hopping on the charts and like, just getting messed up by all this dopamine, what you really want to do is you want to build up other areas of your life, right? And this could even apply to something like socially, right? If you're not socially calibrated, you feel like you're just stuck in your room all day, you're playing video games, you're doom scrolling, and you just focus on trading, which again, there are periods of time where you're just going to be super locked into what you're doing. That's not really the point I'm trying to make here. The point is that that when you get to a certain point, the less time you spend on the charts is probably better. Anyway, so what I was saying is like, let's say you're not socially calibrated. Maybe you want to spend some time just, chilling with your friends, your family, spending quality time with your loved ones. Maybe you got a girl. So, when you get super locked into the charts, what ends up happening is you stop being a person that people want to be around, right? I don't know if you guys have noticed this. I've been in this situation as well where the more time I spend on the chart, obviously you end up losing. That's really what ends up happening, and then that fucks you up psychologically. And then people don't want to be around you because you're like grumpy all the time, and like you obviously like your mood has been affected by what's happening on the charts, and partially and largely this is all due to the fact that you have sabotaged yourself by spending way too much time on trading and making it your whole world, right? And so going back to my example, if you're not socially calibrated, of course, you want to spend time with your loved ones. These are all areas of life that I would argue that you should look into, right? If you maybe want to start like a side business, I don't know, drop shipping, maybe you want to become a content creator. Yeah, there's so many different things. If you don't have a job, maybe you want to get like a part-time job. Anything, like even playing sports, right? I used to play volleyball big time, right? But ever since I started this job, I figured I'm gonna pause volleyball for a little bit. Of course, once I get my trading thing going up and going again, and I'm able to quit my job, then I'm gonna get back into volleyball. But that for now, I've made a temporary sacrifice given my current situation, my current schedule. And what I'm really trying to advise to you guys is just to build a schedule that you desire to live, right? What is the life that you want to live? Because at the end of the day, I think a lot of people got into trading for the lifestyle, right? I know I did. I started trading about 6 years ago, and for sure, I saw this one video where this guy was like lifestyle LARPing. I call it like the LL, which is like Lamborghini lifestyle. And I'm 29 now, so 6 years ago I would have been like 23, 22 years old. And I'm not gonna lie, like when I saw that video, I'm like, damn, like yeah, I want to live like that. I want the supercars, I want the girls, I want the money. Like I'm really excited about that stuff. Again, I was young. I'd argue nowadays, like I want something. I don't really care for the Lamborghini lifestyle. I'm more someone that just wants peace in my life, right? And of course, financial freedom is a part of having that sort of peace because you're not super bothered by the day-to-day bills and you're able to do just whatever you want to do, right? Trading is something that will allow you to do that. But yeah, originally I got in because of the Lamborghini lifestyle, but and I think that a lot of traders watching this video, you probably got into trading with the same idea. Like, oh my God, I'm gonna make so much money so quickly. It's gonna be sick. I'm gonna flex on all the hoes. I'm gonna flex on all the guys. I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do everything I need to do, and like, and like no one can touch me. And you have this type of mindset, and you probably got into trading for that reason. And maybe you've come to the realization, maybe you haven't, but once you realize that trading is not going to give you that as quick as you think it will, it's definitely harder than what most people say it is, right? People think that it's easy, or they portray it as easy. Of course, those people are just trying to sell you something, right? Like I would argue that it's actually going to take you a lot longer than you think to become successful. What you see on social media is probably it's a lot of LARPing going on, right? But anyway, that's a topic for another video. But I got into trading for that reason, but then over time I slowly realized I just wanted the peace, right? Because trading can still give you time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom, right? Right now I'm working a job, but once trading starts to get me, I guess, to a place where I'm able to make like double my yearly income, which again, I only make about $60,000 Canadian for full transparency. That's before taxes. So after taxes, I don't even know. I think I make about like it's 3,600 Canadian, which again, it helps to pay the bills right now, but it's not the type of lifestyle that I want, right? And I'm not looking to have some sort of Lamborghini or anything like that. I'm really just trying to live free. If on a Tuesday morning I just want to go and grab a coffee and just chill out, read a book at a cafe, right? I'm gonna do that. I want to do something like that, right? I don't want to be tied down to a job where I have to request for a vacation day. Like I'm doing that right now, and it feels like shit. But listen, I'd argue that you'd have to go through a sacrificial time in your life in order to reach the goals that you want to reach. And so, listen, you can't just up and quit your job right away and then, magically live the life that you want to live. In some cases, maybe some people do that, but again, it really depends on your situation. And so, right now, I'm working this job, going through that sacrificial time. And trading is going to allow you to, eventually live the life that you want to live. But in order to actually get to that point, you need to start living life in ways that you want to live, of course, but you want to focus on the things that you can already live in terms of like your dream life, right? So, for example, for me, I love to stay in shape, right? I love to go to the gym. So this is a non-negotiable for me. It's a part of my day, and I'm focused on that area all the time. And so when it comes to you guys, if it's something that, let's say, you've always wanted to be in shape, but you're not in shape right now, that's a part of your dream life, which means that even though you're spending time on trading, instead of spending about 6 hours, 8 hours on the charts, why don't you spend 2 hours going to the gym? Why don't you spend 2 hours learning how to work out, or cooking your own foods, locking in on your nutrition? Because again, those will help to build your dream life in other areas, and at the same time, it's actually going to improve your trading, right? Because I'd argue that the more you become calibrated with your own life, the more time you actually spend living your life in other areas, working on other areas of your life, building up different skill sets. That's actually when trading just becomes fluent, right? And again, I've seen so many traders talk about this before too, where you're going to go through the period of time where you're just over trading and you're just spending so much time on the charts. Again, like I mentioned, it's that 9 to 5 lifestyle, working overtime. That's what you think. But once you get through that period and you realize that that's not the way to go, and you finally just let go, right? You want to just let go. You want to take a deep breath, just let go, and you realize, like, if you just work on the other areas of your life, everything will eventually come into fruition, right? It'll all piece together like it's a puzzle. And that's basically this video. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you guys are spending way too much time on the charts, you guys are basically allowing trading to become the thing that, like, the only thing that's in your life. And that's the problem here. You guys want to avoid that type of mindset, because trading, again, you want to treat it like it's brushing your teeth, right? It's just something you do, something you just follow that system. And over time, of course, as long as you have a statistical edge, you will make money in the markets, right? Well, as always, guys, thank you guys for watching, and stay frosty, my friends. Peace.